Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter. That is Tim.
Hello.
Hello, Tim.
Hi.
It's October. We're doing a bunch of extra episodes because it's the month of Halloween. That's why everything's orange, and we are in a mood to be, spooky and ghostly and
Spooks.
all those things, and ghastly and horrible. Yeah, we're horrible. This is a horrible show, so yeah. Uh, Power to you for tuning in and possibly actually making your way through it. But we talk about horror movies. That's what we do on Screams After Midnight. And this episode is going to be focused on a film that came out last year called Tales of Halloween. It is an anthology movie. It's made up of 10 separate stories. So we're going to go full spoilers on this. Because it's hard to do a spoiler free section when you're talking about 10 stories. So we're just going to start working our way through them, and we'll talk about them and give our opinions and do the movie as a whole at the end, and that'll be the thing. So, yeah, that's the plan. This starts with Adrian Barberu as a radio host, talking about Halloween and that kind of, and we hear her a few times like in between a couple of the stories, just like giving us some sort of speech about the wicked and the people of the town and whatever. And there's a few other cameos as well from horror people. John Landis is in there. Um,
Lynn Shay.
Lynn Shay's in there. There was another one.
Barbara Crampton, I believe.
I wasn't even the one I was thinking of.
Okay.
I was thinking of. There was a director. It was Stuart Gordon. He was the Sherlock character in one of the
Oh.
stories.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was a few cameos throughout from various horror people from the past. It's kind of weird how John Landis is basically retired from directing, but he'll do a cameo in this.
Yeah.
But so let's start going through it story by story, and we'll see if this is an anthology movie that's up to the standards of some previous. Because over this past year, we've done both Holidays and Southbound, and for the
Mhm.
most part, we quite like both of those. Um,
Before we go like story by story,
mhm.
should we just give like a real quick general like if we liked it or not?
I don't know. I'm of two minds on that one. I feel like
Okay.
maybe we should keep that within and reveal it as we go. You know,
Okay.
go through the journey together.
All right.
So story number one is called Sweet Tooth, and this one is directed by Dave Parker. And the plot of this one is that a teenage babysitter and her boyfriend tell this creepy story to the kid on Halloween night, who's sitting eating all of his candy that he's gotten from trick or treating, and they tell him a story of Sweet Tooth, who was a child himself that didn't was not allowed to eat any of his candy because his parents were super strict. But then one night on Halloween, he caught his parents seductively eating all of his candy for themselves, and this made him mad, and he killed his parents, ate all of his candy, and then ate all of the candy that was actually in their stomachs.
Yeah.
And so the legend is that if you don't leave out candy for him, he will come and kill you and eat your
He'll
candy.
hit, yeah, the candy that you've eaten
Yeah.
from your stomach.
Uh,
I'm of a little bit two minds on this one.
okay. Why is that?
Well, like if this was an actual urban legend, I do think it kind of has like a good like campfirey kind of legend about it. Like obviously, something like this would have never happened, but like I do think it does make for that good type of story. Uh, however, though, it kind of annoys me that um I just feel like no one acts like the way like a real person would. Like the fact that these people are trying to like trick their kids or little brother into getting candy, and then when they do get the candy, they eat it like these like ravenous monsters where they just have like chocolate all over over their face and stuff. I don't know. It just seems like weird to me. I'm like, why would someone act like that? Like I like candy, but it's very easy to get, for yourself,
Oh,
especially if you're an adult. Unless they're just like getting off on the fact that they're taking it from these little kids.
I mean, I give them a little bit of leeway during the because it cuts to the story happening as he's telling it. I give a bit
Yeah,
of a leeway to that because it is supposed to just be a story. It's supposed to be
yeah,
just like a made up thing that's nonsense.
right.
So I give a little bit of leeway to that. My problem is more just that I don't know. I don't think it's that great a story. I don't think it's that great an idea, and I do like
For
I like the idea that maybe the reason why he actually does show up and kills the babysitter and the boyfriend is because they did what his parents did and they ate all of his candy, even though it was kind of by accident in a weird way. Like, because they even say at the end, "Oh, we'll better buy them some to make it." So they're not
yeah,
even being that bad. Like they're going to replace it as you know. But it's not that interesting a story. I don't think it's
no, not really.
because there's one nice moment where like there's a shot
The
from the side of the room and you see the
the
babysitter walk past
creatures,
and the creature just kind of like quickly walks past behind her and that was an okay moment, but
yeah.
otherwise it feels just kind of it feels like a bit of a TV show rather than a movie. It doesn't have any sense of style and it just feels
The whole like the look and stuff of the whole movie in general, like it felt very made for TV, uh, as opposed to like an actual movie that was in theaters or anything.
hmm,
I don't know. It just felt like between the way it looked and like the quality of like the actors and everything about it, nothing felt like something that you would actually see in the theaters.
yeah. Honestly, my problem I don't even mind that it looks low budget. Low budget's fine. I think the problem for me is that with this story and some of the others that we're going to talk about is the pacing just isn't there to actually build up the suspense of anything that's actually happening on screen. It feels like they've got a little story idea and they're rushing through it to get it done in like 6 minutes or whatever, however long this one lasted. I don't know how long it lasted,
Yeah,
but
it
it,
felt
it
pretty short.
yeah, it just kind of felt rushed to me more than anything else. But that's Sweet Tooth. So let's go on to story number two, which is The Night Billy Raised Hell. And the plot of this one, this is directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who you may know from as the director of Saw 2, 3, and 4.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's his legacy. Oh, he also did The Collector. And I actually do kind of like The Collector, so
I did not.
yeah, you did not. I actually kind of like that movie, but I can't complain about your reaction to his name either, though. So fair play. But
The
hold on,
well,
I'm going to see what the
okay,
plot of
okay.
this is. So the plot of this one is that the young boy named Billy is dared by his older sister's boyfriend to egg this house, go up to the door and egg the house because the old man who lives there is like never gives out treats and he's always kind of like this old man who never talks to anyone and whatever, and the old man like comes out and catches him and takes him inside, and we think for the rest of the but then he goes outside, and we think that he's corrupting the young kid to do all these evil things. So we see there's this montage of them basically raising chaos and hell and like smashing things and stealing stuff from people, and they even stick up people with a gun at one point, and just all these evil things. And then the twist at the end is that they come back, and the kid's actually just tied to a chair, and he's got like this demon child that when he takes off the mask, that's who's actually been doing all this. But then the kid goes outside, and the police think it's him because he's been wearing his costume the whole time. And so the end of the story is the kid's getting arrested for all this chaos and murder and whatever else.
Yeah. I absolutely hated this one. Um, the twist at the end is a little interesting, but I could not stand uh any of the characters. First of all, I hated the older sister and her boyfriend. Like they're just so like mean to this little kid for no reason. And I know like siblings, can like be mean to each other and everything, but like seemed like there's a big age gap between them. Like I feel like if you're mean to someone, you're mean to like your like little brother that's like a couple years older or like younger than you, as opposed to like this kid who was like way younger, and they're taking him out trick or treating, and he seems like a nice kid, like he's not doing anything annoying or being crazy or anything, and they're just like terrible people to him. That was really annoying to me, and they just totally abandon him as a stranger takes him inside their house, which is like an awful thing to like do.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't even have like. No, I agree with everything you just said. But
Mm.
I wouldn't let that ruin it for me if the rest of it was enjoyable, because it's just the setup, and they are kind of missing
Yeah,
for most of it. Unfortunately, the whole montage of them causing chaos isn't really that fun. I don't really care the entire
and
time.
the problem, this goes back to the feeling more like a TV movie thing for me, because it's really jokey. The demon guy, old demon guy that's accompanying what you think is the little kid, he's like so jokey, and there's like cartoon sound effects. He's like kind of like raising his eyebrows, and it's like "Rrr, rrr," and like it's like doing that thing with his tongue when he sees like like an attractive girl, like "Rrr, rrr, rrr," like there's these like really cheesy music and sound effects to it that it's like, where is this from? Who is this for? It's so it really really made me mad.
Yeah, I didn't. I wasn't fond of the idea of this one, or
Yeah.
the execution. So
And and I don't know if you know this, but the scene where they crash into a car or something, or they get out of the car, and there's this woman, and he says something like, "Oh, hey, are you blah blah blah? I'm a big fan." Um, I had no idea who that was supposed to be, but my girlfriend said that she's some like famous model or someone from Top Model or some reality show like that. So that's just like another thing, like, oh, great, like a cameo by like a reality show this person.
yeah, nah, I didn't like this one either. This one, but I get it's kind of this weird thing. I had this weird feeling like watching some of these stories where like I don't like this, but at the same time I can't even get angry about it because it's so short that it's over, and I'm just kind of like, well, that was something. Like that happened, you know.
That's okay, Pete. I got enough anger for the both of us.
That's fine.
it,
That's
it
fine.
really made me
Let the
angry.
passion out, Timmy. Let the passion out.
Ah,
Story number three is called Trick, and the plot of this one is that there's two sort of middle-aged couples sitting around watching Night of the Living Dead, which by the way we've already seen at least in one of the stories before. We see it multiple times, and in case you don't know, Night of the Living Dead is in the public domain.
public
You don't
domain.
have to pay for it, which is why I feel like a lot of movies have people watching Night of the Living Dead because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
But although there's people watching Carnival of Souls later, and I don't know if that's also in the public
Huh?
domain, but it's a good movie. You should check it out. Anyway,
Yeah, I've never seen it.
so Trick, yeah, so these two middle-aged couples and trick or treaters come. They give them some treats,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. And then one girl comes as a witch and stabs the guy who answers the door. And then it feels like this group of kids all start attacking them, and they like stab the other woman who runs out to the car, and they get inside, they kill all of them but one. And the twist ending in this one is that they get into this room, and that this is actually revenge because this group of adults actually were torturing and took the eye out of one of their friends.
So, like, were they like eating these kids or something?
It looked like they were eating the eye from the
Okay.
pictures that the woman was deleting. It looked like they were eating the eye, and honestly, this is the first one where I actually like the idea. I like the twist. I just don't like the execution. Like I said before, the time isn't given to it. Like, see if they actually built this up so that either this was a full movie or it got like a good 25 minutes, so they could actually build up the suspense of the kids coming in, so that when we got the twist, it was a big thing. But the problem is that this only started like 3 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, by the time we get to that twist, and I just didn't care. But I
Yeah,
actually like
like
the idea. Like the idea on paper, I like.
yeah, I feel like there could be a way to do this right. Um, but yeah, definitely not this. Um, yeah, I don't. Again, I just didn't really care for any of these people. Like, they're kind of annoying. Like, if you are gonna have these people like be like serial killers, like I want to be able more to to believe that they are serial killers. Like I know that like that's a twist, so you don't want to like
Well,
really
see, Tim,
telegraph it that far away.
I actually think you should go the other way. I think they should be more likable. I think the twist would have worked way better if I cared about them. If you genuinely took the time to make me like these people.
Yeah, 'cause like they seem like they're very like annoying, like kind of like hipsters or something, because they're just kind of like they're laying on the couch and then the doorbell rings and they're kind of like, ugh, again, trick or treaters, like you get up, you get up and stuff. Like, yeah, like maybe they just have to go like some way, like yeah, either be very likable or be like a weird, realistic serial killer or something. I don't like this just in the middle, blase, like no personality characters.
Yeah,
And then
that's the thing. Yeah, none of them actually have any character. There's
yeah,
no real indication of who these people are. It just so the twist doesn't really mean that much. But on paper, I think the idea is good.
yeah.
But I think
And then it just annoyed me. Sorry, but just yeah, the ending, like you see she's going through her phone and it's like really you do this and you're taking like selfies, like it's bad enough that you commit this crime, but you're like I don't know, I thought that was so stupid.
well, it's one of those things where the reason why they've had her take selfies is because they need to show this quickly. So this is just
Right.
a really quick way of doing it. But again, the whole problem, and this is something I feel with a lot of these stories, is like, oh, someone had an idea and they wrote a quick script, but they didn't redraft it. They didn't sit down and think about it to any great extent. They just had the idea and went and did it. It almost feels like they were made in like. Have you ever heard of these like 48-hour film challenges
Oh
where
yeah, yeah.
they'll be given like you get 2 days to write a short film and make it and shoot it and do the whole thing. It
I could
feels
totally see that.
yeah, it feels like most of them were made like that. And I guess it's becoming pretty clear by the third one in that we didn't like this movie as a whole very much.
Yeah, like the first one I didn't really like, but I was still like, oh, anthologies, like not all of them are good. Like we'll see where the next one goes, and the next one's like, oh, I really don't like that. And then by the end of this one, I was like, all right, buckle up. We got another hour or so of this or whatever.
That said, there is one that I do really like.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so yeah,
Oh,
wait for it.
well, I wonder if it's the one that I kind of liked. Oh, we'll see.
We will find out, shan't we? We shall find
Okay.
out. But yeah, that's the third story. Like the idea, but just poorly. And that was directed by Adam Girarsh. Yeah, Girarsh.
Ghoulish?
Not Ghoulish. Gierasch.
Okay.
Girarsh. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
fairly I'm confident. All right, the fourth story is The Weak and the Wicked, and that is directed by Paul Soleil, and it's basically this story of this like woman, or I say woman, this sort of like I guess late teens, girl and two guys who are basically like a group of Western villains. And on Halloween, they're picking on this kid, and then this other person shows up in a really goofy costume and makes them chase him. And he gives them this drawing of a demon, and they sort of laugh it off and they chase him. And we get this flashback, and the reason why this is all happening is because these same three people, when they were like 8, something like that, they were young, burned his parents alive in their like trailer. So he makes them chase them back to the same location, and then they start pouring gasoline on him. They're basically this evil that they're going to set him on fire. Even though before this, all they seemed like were bullies. They just seemed like bullied,
Yeah.
kids. That's all they were. And all of a sudden, oh no, they're actually killers. They killed his parents. Now they're going to kill him. And then, as you would expect, the demon that he claims to have summoned summons and rips them all to shreds. And that's the story.
Yeah. I mean, it might have redeemed it if we actually got to see the demon doing some stuff, but of course it cuts right out. Before.
Yeah, it kind of does. The weird thing about this one is they actually tried to give this one more of a style. They film like the female is the leader of this like pack of bullies, and they kind of film her like she is the lead villain in like a western almost.
Yeah.
Which is why I said that the way she sort of steps in and acts all like badass, like feels like that, and I was okay with that. I thought they were at least trying to do something with that. The story itself just. This one, it didn't have a twist. It didn't have anything that turned it into a story. It was just, it played out exactly as you'd expect it to play out.
And it was just that kind of thing. again, I feel this kind of way about almost all of them, and maybe it is just the nature of it of everything being short stories, but I just you're seeing these characters and stuff, and I'm just like I like I can't get any type of like feeling or
Well,
interest in these
part of the
people.
part of the problem with this one though as well, to add to that, is that we see this flashback and they show them standing in the same position as kids, and
Yeah,
we're supposed to believe that over their entire childhoods growing up into these like late teens, that they're the exact same people with the exact
yeah,
same type of like attitudes and stuff, like they don't have any new friends, they're still the same people. It feels so
yeah.
two-dimensional and cartoony.
Yeah. And it's just like maybe I'm asking for too much, but I'm like, wait, why the hell would these like 8-year-olds, I guess, burn this house with people in it like to the ground? Like how evil do you have to be to do that at such a young age? I want to know like what makes these people tick?
Which again,
It's very frustrating.
but even then, you wouldn't necessarily, because I don't want to know what makes Michael Myers tick. But the reason why that
True, yeah.
works is because it's the way it's told. It's told and it's given time to build up the tension and the fear, whereas
Yeah.
this is just presented in such a short form way that there's no effect to anything. And it's not
Yeah.
like you can't have good horror short stories. There's tons of good horror
Oh,
short stories. There's
without a doubt.
tons of horror anthologies with good shorts in them. It happens. But anyway, that's the
Ugh.
fourth story. On to the fifth one. It's called The Grim Grinning Ghost, and it's directed by Alex Carolyn, or or Axel, maybe Axel because of the way it's spelled. But um, so yeah, this is basically just a ghost follows a woman home.
Mhm.
Uh, I like some of the
This one,
shots in this one, but that was about it.
yeah, this one I actually kind of liked, but it's like it feels very short and not a lot happens, so it doesn't like this might have been the one that I thought the most like, oh, this could have been cool maybe if it was a little longer or
It
maybe
needed to,
got a little more.
it needed to be longer because it starts off with Lynn Shays, her mother, and she tells her this story. Uh, about this ghost, and you're like, okay, so this ghost is going to appear. But first of all, that's too similar to Sweet Tooth, where they tell a story and then it appears.
Very true.
So
Actually, that's a good point that you bring up because I felt like in some of these movies they had like there's like weirdly like similar uh stuff between them, but it didn't feel like it was trying to do it in like a connected way. It felt like, oh, I feel like no one else read anyone else's script because I don't know because it just seemed like there was stuff that I was like, oh, like oh, this also has like an older sister being mean to her younger brother, and this like also had like a little kid like stabbing, like there's stuff that I was like, oh,
yeah,
this feels like lazily
yeah,
similar.
there was definitely some minor and major elements shared throughout some of these stories, which is really really weird. Like you're talking about the teenagers being mean to their younger kid. Yeah, that's like a minor one, but then there's this one feels more major because it's the whole plot. Uh,
Yeah.
so like there's yeah, there's that throughout, and basically her car breaks down and she has to walk home, and there's like some like shots of this ghost following her, and then the ending is terrible. It just ends with a really simple little jump scare that doesn't really have a conclusion, if I'm
Yeah.
honest. It just feels like you could have, if you'd have got really inventive with this and just made a really good system, because you don't even need any context. You could have just her car. You don't even need the start scene that with the mother telling the story. You could literally just have this woman break down her car, and then we see something following her. And if you make that an entertaining sequence, if you make that a suspenseful, where she realizes she's been followed, she starts to rush, starts to get scared,
Mhm.
and then just have that be the story. But instead, they have this start scene, and then they have an ending that doesn't do anything, and the actual suspenseful part feels really short. So
Yeah.
that's the Grim Grinning Ghost. Next, number six is Ding Dong, directed by Lucky McKee, uh, and this was
Oh,
a
wow.
weird. Sorry.
Oh no, I didn't realize
Uh,
that he did this one.
yeah. Oh, do you know who that is?
Yeah, he did that movie May. Um,
Oh, I've seen that. Yeah.
yeah, and I want to say he did like one or two other like notable horror stuff.
Hmm. But anyway, this one's about a woman who really wants a child, a baby,
Mhm.
and she like is actually a witch, and there's this weird like imagery of like her turning into a big red witch and like wanting to kill things and whatever. And then so it's set in one Halloween, then it jumps ahead to another Halloween after she eats the dog, I guess. And she's basically answering the door to trick or treaters and going through this little spiel. And eventually, a kid is there by themselves, and she's like getting ready to kidnap the kid,
Yeah.
and the husband stops her. And then all that really happens is the husband admits that he doesn't think that she should have a kid. He thinks that she's inappropriate to be a parent, and then she goes crazy and I guess kills him.
Now, I have a question about this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, the woman, is she actually a witch or a demon or something, or was all that stuff supposed to be kind of like kind of just like a physical representation of her craziness? Do you know what I mean? Did you get
Yeah,
a
no,
sense
I get
that
it.
that was really happening?
I'll be honest, I thought it was all symbolic until I read the synopsis and it said in just
Okay.
straight. It just said in straight up fact. What was the wording here? A man learns that his wife is a child hungry witch. Right, so I'm like, okay.
Okay.
I guess it just is straightforward, is what it seems.
There was a little bit to like in this one, I thought. Um, like the story, I guess, is not that bad, and I did kind of like the special effects of like those arms and stuff coming out of her. But then there's also other stuff to not really like. Just I don't know, the husband's costume annoyed me, and then it was so stupid that the little boy that gets like left there is in the exact same costume. Like, and then like no one comments it. No one's on like, oh hey, we're wearing the same thing, little child and adult man. And especially since it's not like something like a Spider-Man costume where, oh hey, anyone might wear that. It's like a Hansel from Hansel and Gretel costume,
Yeah, it's
which
really
I guess kind of
it's really
play.
specific.
And then yeah, and I don't know, the mother to, or the not the mother, the witch was, her acting was like really over the top.
It was. It was again. It was cartoony. Everything felt two dimensional. No time to actually build any sort of suspense or mood out of it. It just felt. It felt shallow and hollow
like
again. So.
if you you could actually maybe made it kind of cool if she played it more subtly and maybe like a little creepier.
But again, you
Um,
need more time for that. And they don't have time. They have what at
yeah,
most 5 minutes for this story. It,
yeah.
so nah, there you go. That's Ding Dong. Next up, This Means War, which is directed by Andrew Cash and John Skip, and it is a story about a sort of old man who puts out the same Halloween like decorations and display on his front lawn every year, and he's got new neighbours across the street who are like these goth metalheads who put out a more sort of like, like he puts out like a traditional skeletons and cobwebs and spiders, and they've got like gore and like dripping blood and stuff on theirs. And
So oh, I'm sorry. Do you want to
finish the
keep
plot.
doing the
Yeah.
plot? Sorry.
um,
You had a little bit of a lull. I was gonna swoop in, but
sometimes I just like a natural pause to get my breath back.
all right.
But I almost feel like I have to not breathe just so that you don't jump in. Just
Well, I
because
mean,
you will take the opportunity if I breathe.
yeah, but I feel like if I don't say anything after the podcast, you're gonna be like, you really got to speak up more because there's a lot of dead air there, and then when I do it, you gotta be like, well, you really shouldn't talk so much. I can't win. I can't win.
See, that was a natural pause. That was a natural sigh of discontent. As long as the silence has a purpose, it's fine.
Okay.
That's the rule. But yeah, so continue the plot there. So yeah, so it comes to Halloween night, and these metalheads are playing music really loud, and they've got a party going on, and there's tons of people, and the music's so loud that it's like the kids who are like trying to enjoy his display are getting distracted and can't hear him properly, and he goes over and waves his finger and says turn down that music. They say no, basically. It escalates, and the main guy who's running this party and him start fighting and start trying to smash each other's displays up, and it turns into a full on fight where the entire crowd gathers around them. Even the police show up and start watching, and it ends with them accidentally impaling each other on the same spike of wood, and that's the end of the story. That's the whole thing.
So there's a couple of things that I liked about this. One, the more traditional neighbor, played by Dana Gould from Southbound. It's just kind of funny that he was in like two horror anthologies back to back. But I'm a big fan of him. He's a really funny comedian, and he's a very big horror fan. So actually felt like a lot of his character was really bled through in this because he likes that kind of like traditional stuff, and I like this underlying theme where it's kind of like, oh, the kind of more traditional cherished version of horror and Halloween versus this like new kind of extreme like in your face like death metal horror.
It was basically Universal monster movies versus Saw 4.
Yeah. Yeah, like, great. Yeah, great way to put it. So I like that idea, but I don't know. It feels like really misplaced in this movie because it's kind of like
it's more comedy than it is anything else.
Yeah, there's no like it's more comedic. There's no like there's just like this little bit of gore at the end, but it's like it's like an accident. It's not like it's not like there's a malevolent or evil person or creature there. It's just like, oh, these just two people fought and had a really sad ending to it. So it's very strange. I like the idea of it, and maybe it would have been just like a nice on its own.
Yeah, I mean,
internet short.
This is like the second or third one where I'm like, I like the idea, but they've just not done it. They're not capitalized on it. They're not giving it the time or the right thing. And again, maybe it just doesn't belong in this movie, regardless.
Right.
But like this could have been a fun story. I almost think this would work better as a Christmas story with Christmas. Like two neighbors competing over their lights and stuff outside.
Well, I kind of like it as a Halloween story because I feel like that Christmas idea has kind of been done like a few times before.
Well, what if it was like, say it was a full movie, but it like played out over the whole year, and it was like every time we got to a holiday, it's the same two people competing.
So that would be interesting. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just spitballing, but
no, yeah, like something like that could be genuinely entertaining.
Yeah. Next up, we have Friday the 31st, which is a cool name. I'll give them that. I like the name of that. Friday the 31st, directed by Mike Mendez. And this is another one where I actually really like the plot. I like the idea of this one. So basically this is like a Jason Voorhees-esque killer is basically stalking this woman, running through the woods, like trying to kill her. And when he eventually gets to her and kills her, a giant light from a UFO opens up. And I like the insanity of this one. And then the alien comes down and is like really stupid and goofy and like tries to make friends, but then the killer squishes them. So he possesses the dead woman and then chases after the killer. So I do like the fun twist that there's someone chasing after the serial killer and the serial killer's now become the victim. I do like that idea, and that it is something insane like Aliens. But again, this should have been at least 3 times as long, and they should have like. I don't buy that the killer is immediately scared, because that turns it into comedy. It turns it into complete slapstick. Whereas if he tried to fight and then eventually slowly realised that, oh crap, I am out of my element, I have to run, it would have worked out a lot more fun, like a lot more ironic.
Yeah, like again, like you said, it's an interesting idea, and it was kind of fun, but yeah, it's just too short, and and it didn't really lead to much. With stuff like this, I always like feel like the killer is like super lazy. Like I feel like I don't know. Like you should try to go and actually make some like. This definitely feels like a Jason knockoff, which obviously it is. But like, try to make like your own Jason, like, just I don't know, it just felt so lazy. It's just like, oh, it's just like a deformed guy in overalls.
Well, see,
Mm.
I think with this it works that it's just a knockoff. I think that's the point, is that you're meant to be reminded of the ones you're used to. Like that's what makes it fun to see it be flipped and see them in trouble.
Well, no, I know what you mean, but like I don't know. I just want it to seem like there's more effort or into it, or something that just looks like a little cooler. Like, I just feel like we've seen the large deformed guy in overall a million times
Mm.
before. Like, like try to think of like some type of gimmick. Like, obviously you can't do a hockey mask because that's Jason, but try to think of your own thing like that instead of
I,
just this kind of
Honestly,
thing.
I will defend them a little bit and say I think. I mean, I'm not saying it was right, but I think that's
Uh,
intentional. I don't think that was them being lazy with that specifically. I think that was an intentional decision.
mm,
We want people to think of that, so we're
yeah.
going to do something that looks generic.
That could possibly be so. Even if it was intentional, though, it didn't really work for me.
Oh, yeah, if you didn't
But
like it, you didn't like it, but
yeah,
I think that was an intentional choice.
yeah. I will say my girlfriend thought the alien was really cute. She, like when that came on screen, she's like, "Oh,
Oh, that's the reaction you want.
yeah,
um, nah, so again, nice idea, but it just
yeah,
too rushed. Need more time. And I've said that about most of. Well, I've not said they've all been good ideas, but I've said they've all need more time, and that's certainly a running theme. The ninth story is the ransom of Rusty Rex, and this is probably another big one where it feels like the same couple of twists that we've already had, right?
yeah,
We've got a kid in a very similar costume to the kid from the second story
yeah,
that was causing all the chaos. And then on top of that, the twist in this is that these two guys try to like kidnap this kid for ransom because the dad's like a millionaire, played by John Landis. And the twist is that oh no, it's actually a demon, and he's going to make their life a living hell. Like
yeah,
they have to put up with him now, and it's basically the whole thing where it's the same thing as the last story where the killer has the tables flipped on him and he's now the victim. It's the same twist.
yeah,
The kid is now the villain and the kidnappers are the victims. It's the same exact same style of twist. Plus he's in the same costume as the kid from earlier.
yeah.
It,
It's just so weird. Like I really want to know if like if everyone like knew what everyone else was doing because it just feels like weirdly
unless
similar.
is it supposed to be the same demon as the kid from that story? But that doesn't even make sense because he's with
Yeah,
the demon old guy.
right.
Uh,
Yeah,
and
and he looked a little different and
And not to talk about the last story yet, but the last story does confirm that it's all taking place in the same world, the same universe, the same town.
yeah.
So, which by the way, it's a really eventful night in this
Oh
town with
yeah.
all this going on. But yeah, and yeah, so there's some slapstick with them trying to deal with this kid. They try to leave him and they try to burn him, and he keeps coming back. And uh, this one also felt weird because I kept thinking it was ending, like it was going to
Mhm.
cut to black, and it kept continuing.
Yeah.
And then the moment when it finally did end, I felt like, okay, I guess that's the ending. Sure.
This poor guy's gotta raise this kid.
However, I will say I did the one thing I did like in this story. I did laugh when they phone John Landis for the ransom demand, and he
Yeah.
hangs up. And I liked the kidnapper's reaction. Like, did he just hang up?
Yeah, that I got a chuckle out of
Yeah,
that.
because that was the one moment where I was like, okay, you're having fun with this because you're because the parent would never do that. The parent's the one who wants the kid back. It was just really the idea that he doesn't want him back was really funny. Like,
Yeah.
but that was the only enjoyment I got out of that. So,
Yeah.
any thoughts
All
before
right.
we move on to?
It sucked.
Okay, that was directed by Ryan Schifrin. Before we move on, all right. So the last story, the 10th and final story, is called Bad Seed, and it was directed by Neil Marshall. Uh,
Finally. Like
yeah, Neil Marshall, who of course
good name.
directed the Descent, and I don't think it's any
Dog
surprise.
soldiers.
And Dog Soldiers, yes, I just picked one, but yeah, if you want to list like more movies, yeah, Dog Soldiers, Centurion, um,
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
and other stuff. But yeah, the Descent's a very good movie, and
Yeah,
I don't think it's a coincidence that I think this is by far the best story of the entire bunch.
without a doubt. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's over the top, but I think it plays into that, and it feels like I want a whole movie about a killer pumpkin.
I would definitely watch that. Yeah.
I would, because the whole thing, this guy is really proud of his pumpkin. It's huge, but it comes to life and it bites his head off. And the wife like what comes in, and it's got like these like tentacles where its sort of leaf part would be, and it's like filling around, and it scurries across the floor. And because it's Halloween night, there's pumpkins everywhere, so the police are looking for a pumpkin, and it's
Yeah.
and this is when we see the detective come back to the precinct, and the captain is this over the top captain who like there's a report of a UFO, there's a report of, like he mentions like stuff that's happened in all the other stories, and
Yeah.
we follow this detective trying to find the pumpkin.
Yeah.
And it's just fun. It's goofy, but it's like it feels like an intentionally silly B movie idea, and it's the only one where I feel like we get a sense of who the character the detective is, because she's like disgruntled and she doesn't want to believe it, and like the guy who does the sketch for like the witness sketch of the killer, and he
Yeah.
turns it around and it's just this pumpkin, and
Yeah.
she's just like, "Are you serious?" Like I feel like they actually
Yeah.
had fun with this one. Like they had this ridiculous idea, and they
Yeah.
had fun with it. So
It actually felt fun. The characters had personality, and I think best of all, like the pumpkin.
look
I don't
cool.
know, Yeah, it looked cool, and it was like like they probably actually put like a little bit of money behind this, making a puppet or doing animatronic or whatever. And yeah, it looked really cool, and I actually kind of like it had like a very like oh no kind of ending that I thought played into it. That was funny.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, this was definitely the most enjoyable one by far.
It was so weird. After like nine that I just didn't like for various reasons, we finally get to one where I'm like, I kind of like this. The movie's starting to pick up. Oh, end credits.
Yeah, I feel like it's so often the opposite with anthology movies where they usually start off strong, and maybe might dip a little bit as it goes on, but this was the
Yeah,
exact opposite.
I tend to agree. Actually, I feel like almost always my favorite story from anthologies can often be near the start of
Yeah,
the movie. It's kind of weird, but yeah, this was not only was it the best, it was the only good one.
yeah,
There
I
was
would say so.
nine degrees of duds. Like there was some that had good ideas, but we spoke about why they didn't work anyway. The execution
Yeah.
was poor, but like this was the only one at the end where I was like, I enjoyed that. I am glad I watched that
Yeah.
6 minute story.
I almost want to go back and watch just that one because I feel like by the time I got to it, I still enjoyed it, but I
You were
feel
in a
like it
bad
was
mood.
dampened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because you had to sit through nine stories of crap before you got to the one good one.
I think there's like just talking about the movie overall, like I feel like there's way too many stories. Like at the very least, if you maybe like cut it in half and fleshed out some of the ones with better ideas, maybe it could have been cool. And I don't know. I feel like it needed to feel somehow more connected or something. Because I feel like with yeah, well, most of the anthology movies that I like, when I think about them, they all have this kind of some type of wraparound story or interconnecting thing that goes from story to story. And this just felt kind of like jarring. Like they did have Adrienne Barbeau on the radio, but she wasn't there all the time. And then when she was, it didn't really feel like it was much of a transition, you know?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't even think her radio parts worked that well.
No, not really. It was like they're pointless. Like it didn't really
Yeah,
like lead to like when you think of something like Creep Show where it's like you have that um like I'm kind of thinking of the second one where you have I don't know what they call him, but the kind of crypt keeper like guy.
the
um
host. There's a host.
right, yeah. Or even I guess a better example, the Tales from the Crypt movie that we did. uh yeah, they have the crypt keeper, and he's the one that's telling the stories, and he goes back and he talks to the characters, and there's like it's not just like story with no meaning. It's like, oh no, there's a reason why we're going from story to story, and this guy's leading you there.
And I think that was like 5 or 6 stories, and I feel like that's a good maximum for an anthology movie that's
Yeah.
only 90 minutes long.
Definitely.
Whereas with this they had 10. So I mean, right away you're what at most getting 9 minutes per movie, per short story,
Yeah.
at most. And some of them didn't even have that. Some of them were shorter than that. It at least certainly felt like it. Although at the same time they felt long because I wasn't enjoying them. You know, it's that weird dual feeling of like, oh, this needs more time, but it feels far too short or too long. But whatever.
Right.
Um, yeah, this was a weak anthology. I was fairly hopeful getting into this. I was like, oh, series of stories all set in Halloween. This could be fun. Maybe a couple of duds, but honestly, most of it was just really kind of mediocre to bad. So, I think that just leaves us to get to ratings, Timmy.
Oof. Uh, this is uh this is a tough one. Um, I'm gonna give it a 2.5.
Oh, oh, uh,
I feel like it's a little hard because it's like, again, if we were just rating that the last one by Neil Marshall, be like, oh yeah, give it like I don't know, like an 8 or something. But I feel like that's the only thing that like gets points
I mean,
in this.
if you're going to go with straight math, one story out of 10 was good, so technically it should be a 1 out of 10.
That's
But
what I was thinking at
but
first, but I feel like that's too low.
yeah, I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't even go as low as 2.5. I feel like we're more in 4 territory, mainly because like it's thoroughly mediocre for the most part, as opposed to being something I outright hated the whole time. Like it wasn't. This was not Rob Zombie, levels of hate. This was it wasn't. What have we got? It wasn't Green Inferno terrible.
Jeez, yeah.
It was just really, really, you know, cheap looking, but not in a fun low budget way. It felt,
Yeah.
direct to DVD kind of like dodgy effects. The shot of the fire on the trailer in the Wicked
Yeah.
story that looked atrocious. That was a really bad effect.
It was like just like a I don't know, like a screensaver. Like someone took like a clip art or something and just placed it on there. I
Yeah,
don't know.
that so like the whole thing, it just had this air of like cheapness to it in a really really bad way. I yeah I'll go with 3.5 3.5 out of 10.
Okay.
That's what I'm going
Yeah.
with that.
I don't know. I feel like maybe I am being a little harsh, but it, there's kind of like a multiplying effect where if this was 4 or 5 stories that were not that great, I feel like maybe I give it a little higher score. But it felt like since there was so many stories and only one of them was good, it just like sticks out in my mind as being a lot worse. You know what I mean? Like having like 3 or 4 mediocre stories as opposed to having like 9 mediocre stories like just amplifies it to me and
Yeah, no, I get you.
makes me think of it lower.
So that's Tales of Halloween. We're having a rough October actually. I feel like most of the episodes we've recorded so far for October, and we're fairly stockpiling these, so we've done quite a
Yeah.
few by the time you've seen this one, and I feel like the majority of them so far have been not spectacular. So hopefully we perk up as the month goes on. But let us know what you think of Tales of Halloween in the comments below. Like and subscribe and all that stuff. It helps us out a lot. Of course, check out our TV reviews of Tales from the Crypt over on the Mild Fuzz TV YouTube channel. There'll be a link in the corner. That is going on every weekend. Me and Timmy review an episode of the old show. I've never seen it before, so we're having good fun working our way through that. But otherwise, guys, keep watching scary movies, and we'll see you next time.